About the only situation where we didn't just get generic coach speak from Terry Fontenot, where he just said, "I'm not good enough" to pretty much every tough question that was asked. And credit to the Atlanta Falcons media for actually, pushing him on
Yes.
some of these issues,
Yes.
because they are big issues, whether it's the Young Wei coup, whether it's the draft picks, whether it's his job security. There were several things where he just said, "I'm not good enough," and gave a blanket answer to whether he was prepared or not. But the one thing that he did give us a light into the future of what's going to happen this offseason is one of the biggest decisions the Falcons are going to have to make surrounds Kirk Cousins and whether they cut him, trade him, outright release him. And he said, one, they're comfortable having Kirk Cousins as a backup, which I guess, but you're going to have to pay him $10 million. He also said they'd be open to trading him if that's something Kirk Cousins camp would want. And that's where I want to start with this, because I'm just going to tell you guys, there's 0% chance Kirk Cousins is traded this offseason. There's absolutely no, there's just no way. First of all, I don't think there's going to be a ton of suitors out there that want Kirk Cousins. And secondly, and are willing to pay him. Secondly, Kirk Cousins has absolutely zero incentive, less than zero, to help out the Falcons in this situation. He can go out there, get cut, and pick his team and help out his team. They don't have to absorb his contract that they'd be taking on from the Falcons. And he could also stick it to the Falcons, who clearly didn't do right by him. He could be as professional, and he was very professional during this whole process. That doesn't mean he likes what happened. He likes what transpired. He was mad about the Penix signing when it happened, and he's definitely madder about it today. So there's no chance he's going to help out the Falcons. And they're either going to have to make the tough decision of, hey, do we want to pay him another $10 million and keep him as the backup quarterback, which isn't the worst decision because you're going to have to sign a backup quarterback, and that's kind of the going rate for a decent backup quarterback, or they're just going to outright release him. There is no scenario where Kirk Cousins agrees to a trade. Zero.
I don't think there's 0% chance. And I mean, it's very close to zero. And the only reason I say that is because everybody just assuming the Falcons are going to do the logical thing, and that is to cut him with a post-June 1 designation, but doing so before his March 17th bonus. It's the 17th, I believe, kicks in, which is the $10 million that Chase is talking about. That's when the Falcons have to hit that other $10 million. So he's guaranteed 90 right now. And if he's on the roster by March 17th, that extra $10 million kicks in. So if he's on the roster by that point, we will be giving him $37 or $38 million in terms of cash. Now that doesn't count. It's not $38 million against the cap. I think it's just 27 or around $28 million against the cap if he's on the roster next year. But, the logical thing would be to cut ties before that date happens and you save yourself a little bit of money. I think everybody just assuming the Falcons are going to do the logical thing are just ignoring the past decade and a half of dumb things that this organization has done. A decade, the last year, where they paid Kirk Cousins and then drafted Michael Penix. Like, what makes you think this organization is going to do the smart, rational thing? I think that's crazy. So, with that train of thought, they're dig their heels in per se. Kirk Cousins has a choice. He either can just collect his money, which is a fine thing to do, and be Michael Penix's backup. And, the only hope of basically getting on the field is if Michael Penix gets hurt. Or he can say, okay, I'll waive my no trade clause because I want to play. So I want to start somewhere that bad. I'm in the twilight years of my career. I still believe that I can play. That's the only scenario where I see a trade clause being waived.
Yeah,
I mean, it's as close to a 0% chance as you can get, but I don't want to say 0% chance because that's assuming that the Falcons are going to do the logical thing of cutting him, trying to save that $10 million.
Well, no, I mean, I believe there's a very real situation that he could be the backup quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons.
I agree.
But I just don't see a scenario where, a team where Kirk Cousins is waiving his no trade clause. I mean, once you guarantee him that extra $10 million trading him, I don't know. I don't know the financial ramifications, how much it helps, how much it hurts, how much they would owe. I think that they would owe that $10 million. I'm not completely sure. So maybe that changes things. But I just have a hard time finding a scenario where Kirk Cousins is waiving his no trade clause. I think, guess what? He's probably going to sit there and say, maybe this extra $10 million, you're going to pay me another $10 million. That's pretty nice. Because then otherwise he'd have to go out there and get released. The thing is, veteran minimum.
Does he care more, at this stage in his career? more about the money, or does he want one last crack at being a starting quarterback? Now, I think the Falcons, if you're the Atlanta Falcons.
What has Kirk Cousins done his entire career?
Money.
He's going to collect another $10 million to sit there and be the backup and hold the clipboard.
With his family already in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yep. And listen, like it's not like Michael Penix hasn't ever gotten injured before. Yep. Like, I mean, knock on wood, I would hate to see it. We all want to see Michael Penix go out there, be healthy, and see what he can do over 17 games because we think it can be something special. But I mean, listen, the best job in the NFL is being a backup quarterback. You're making you get an extra $10 million that you wouldn't get if you get outright release. Excuse me. I mean, that's a pretty damn good job. He's chosen money his entire career. And do you not think deep down he kind of thinks I might be a little cooked? Like, I mean, let's go. He watched the film every Sunday and he was like, damn, that didn't look like the same guy. I quote tweeted a tweet earlier of one of his passes where play action, little deep ball over the corner and in between the safety to Justin Jefferson for Jefferson's first touchdown. I was like, oh, that's not the same guy. No. And, you know, he's watching the same thing we all are. And he may feel healthy, but like there's a certain point where you're watching it and you're like, I'm not quite the same guy.
Another dynamic that I think is important looking into the future is the same exact dynamic that we were worried about when you drafted Michael Penix after paying Kirk Cousins, except the roles are just flipped. Now, everybody in Flowery Branch can say we're all the way behind Michael Penix. That would be the only logical thing to say, and it's the truth because you're not going to go from Michael Penix back to Kirk Cousins unless an injury is. That won't stop the questions from coming. That won't stop the drama when Michael Penix inevitably struggles, and he will, everybody. That's just the nature of playing quarterback in this league. Even though he is on a Hall of Fame trajectory already, 3 games, he's going to find some troubles. And I promise Mike Florio, some stickler, I breed hate. I'm going to say, I wonder if Kirk Cousins could be better. I'm just joking. But seriously, that's a concern that, you know. That's not to say that like people in the locker room are going to be saying those same things. I'm just saying they look at social media, they watch TV, all these guys just as much as we do. And you're going to have some talking head, Dan Orlovsky, Stephen A. Smith, whoever it is saying next year when Michael Penix perhaps loses a game because he's a rookie or, you know, basically a rookie making rookie mistakes. Kirk Cousins is a 10-year vet, you know, yada, yada, yada.
I mean, I'm not too worried about that dynamic. 1, because what I've seen from Michael Penix. 2, I think there's no going back. Like there
is no going back. Yeah, I'm just saying, let's just avoid the drama. Yeah, but the questions. The drama that people are going to make up drama wherever it is. I mean, if you're getting annoyed by that, Michael Penix isn't the guy that we all think he is from a mental aspect. So that's not something. I didn't even mean it from a mic. I'm talking Arthur Blank seeing his team not talked about in the light that he appreciates. Well, Rich McKay not appreciating.
I think Arthur Blank, if he isn't used to getting some negative publicity, you know, I don't think he's been paying attention the last 7 years. Maybe he's in a nap with Terry Fontenot. He found himself in a closet. I mean, like, listen, like this has been a negative publicity show for the last 7 years, from Dan Quinn's firing, from the outing of Matt Ryan, the Kirk Cousins, the Bill Belichick. I mean, it is the Sean Watson. It has just been a complete mess for 7 straight years. They couldn't help themselves but get into a worse headline, seemingly year after year after year. They finally have this shining bright light in Michael Penix. I'm not too worried. There is a little sense of, is there added pressure because Kirk Cousins is there? Maybe that's something, maybe because like that's definitely a dynamic, but that's not something I'm too worried about. Coming up after the break, we're going to go back. We didn't cover one game of the playoffs yesterday. We're going to cover the Vikings and Rams, which I think we both believe is going to be one of the better games of the wild card round this weekend.